what information they do in fact give out. And on top of that, we also have technology weaknesses. And a lot of people now have moved away from the mainframe and put their critical data on distributed systems. And one of the problems with distributed systems is, in fact, that they actually have a very weak security model. And one of the biggest weaknesses is the administrator account or the root account on Unix. And so you can't rely on the application security in order to secure your information. What you can find is that the root account can bypass the application security. They can go read the basic tables of your database using other tools. They can alter the logs of what they've been doing. They can change critical executables so that they can intercept data that might have been encrypted, and after it's been decrypted, and pass it on to other people. So technology itself is another weak point in all of this. And then we did another survey, which was an internal survey of nearly 500 of our major organizations around EMEA. And we found that in response to that survey, 70% of those people were saying they were holding what we classified as regulated information, some kind of personally identifiable information, or information that was regulated under one of the regulations. And yet, only 40% of those people were able to access on who had access to that information. And let me see now, only 33% were able to say who had and what number of orphan accounts that there were on the systems. So there is a big difference between, the fact that organizations are holding this information and the fact that there are those standards out there which would enable them to be sure that they treat it properly and securely, and what they're actually doing. Because anybody who is following those standards would have been able to answer those questions in a much more positive light. So to kind of finish on some examples of where we've seen people and organizations actually doing things that are good things, let's move on to this. This is an interesting story because it's about BT. BT is the UK major provider of telecommunications. And they made a big decision that they wanted to be able to get their customers, like myself, to actually deal with them directly using the web, at the same time as being able to manage access by their employees and their partners. And they wanted to do this, and one of the critical things was that what it says there, that customers expect us to get security right, and they don't want to worry about issues like identity theft. So that is an example of where an organization was designing the security of the system as part of the system, because that was part of the reputation that that organization was trying to maintain. And what they wanted to be able to do was to be able to provide single sign-on to all of the applications for their employees, but secure sign-on for customers and partners across what is, in effect, a very complex set of technology and a set of technology requirements that are in there. They also wanted to be able to deal with federation, and that's an interesting thing because as a telco, they are subject to the requirements for openness. That is to say that in the UK, I could buy my broadband from Bulldog, from Tiscali, from Sky, from a whole host of suppliers. And that implies that now there are loads and loads of different organizations that are selling broadband that may actually install equipment inside BT exchanges using the BT local loop wiring, and they need to be able to maintain that equipment, which effectively means both physical and logical access. And BT did not want to have to maintain the identities of all of those people. And so there's a whole other story about BT and Federation and the way that was solved. So the net result of that was that they used our product SiteMinder, and that they are using that to give over 5 million logins per month. They've got 36 million transactions a day going through this, which is quite remarkable. And they're managing all those people. And their own internal systems came up with this saving that they have got from doing that, which is in terms of pounds, over £4.5 million per annum. So looking at a rather different case, and this is a case of a retail organisation needing to comply with payment card industry data security standard. You probably realised that following the TJ Maxx problems and also following other losses around this, the payment card industry has been, taking quite a lot of trouble to improve security. So they produce these standards, and in fact, retail organisations that hold credit card information or process credit card information have to comply with these standards. Now, there's a lot of standards that a lot of things in this standard that you have to comply with, but the things that they particularly were finding difficult, they were out of the normal stuff, is actually securing the information that is held on the Unix servers. And so they have all of these different Unix and Windows servers which are holding that kind of stuff, and they did not feel that the basic operating system was sufficiently trustworthy, or that the logging systems were in fact adequate in order to deal with the requirements. And so they used our access control product in order to secure that, together with our secure auditing product called CA Audit. And that gives you an idea of the kind of architecture that you've got there, with the systems being controlled and monitored, and also a couple of servers, one of which being a database of the logs that are coming through, and also an administration system which was being used to control the administration of all of that. So in terms of where we are from all of this, privacy is important. Privacy is another way of talking about secrecy, and it's about making sure that the information that you have is only used in the ways which it is designed for. And that in order to do that, there is always an element of trust. And how you manage that trust is really quite critical in order to be able to be sure that you've achieved the final results. So privacy and trust are in fact intimately created. What we actually do is we use security techniques in order to ensure those things, and that really we ought as an industry to be more rigorous in the way that we actually apply them. We have the paper standards, but it seems that many organisations are not in fact doing that. And we also ought to be training the people properly and ensuring that people that do it are properly accredited. And I've given you some case studies of how it is that we've been helping to ensure privacy and trust amongst our customers. And that is my presentation. Thank you very much, everyone.
Mike, thank you very much for this view. I'm impressed. I think your experience is as long as the one of Jackson and me together. Really impressive. Quite a little longer. So thank you again for giving us this presentation, and we will directly move to the last keynote of today, which will be held by Dominik Fedronik, the CTO of Active Identity, and he will talk about the future of identification, which is definitely a very, very interesting thing, and I'm really interested in to hear